Hello everyone and welcome to this new video. In this video I'm going to be showing some Power Harbinger gameplay in PvP. The build that I'm using will pop up on screen right now as well. You can also find the link in the description below, and I will talk about the build a little bit after this match as well. I chose this match because we're up against some good players, Benzo and Erazik, which are two very good Revenants. They're playing Vindicator, and one of them actually jumps on me right here at the start of the match. I don't know where he came from, but as you can see, he tried to pull me with the Dwarf Stance chain, which taunts you, but luckily I had stability when you enter Harbinger Shroud, so I negated that CC, which is very good. Stability on Necromancer is one of the best things, because people don't really expect it. I hop back into mid and hit some enemies with my elite potion, and the boons also help me to survive since it gives stability and protection. But I am being chased by the Vindicator, who I don't want to fight there, so I use my leap to go to this kite spot, and luckily he follows. I also drop my number 5 skill, which makes him float for a second, and that's a really good thing about the Harbinger Shroud number 5 skill that a lot of people don't seem to realize, is that it's actually a pulsing AoE field. For example, you can precast it, and then when someone teleports into the float, they will get CC'd still. So what I often like to do is to use it prematurely, so that when people walk into it, then they get CC'd, and I can combo my damage into it. My team is currently doing a good job at holding mid and close, so I had decided to back out a bit and get some health while out of combat, and we finish off one last Vindicator here before we go back to the midpoint. But I quickly cleave out this Vindicator so that our Mechanist can duel the remaining Vindicator on close. And now we go mid, and I actually hit a 13k potion on this Reaper, which I did not expect. And that's the great thing about this build, is that it does an insane amount of damage due to all the damage modifiers in the traits. So we killed the Reaper. The Hollowsmith is trying to run away, so I teleport to him using my Flesh Worm to apply a little bit more damage. I'm not really sure if it was worth it. You should really only use Flesh Worm defensively. But I did manage to get quite some damage on the Hollowsmith, and will now finish him off using Spinal Shivers, and I get a perfect axe number 3 through the pillar, which did 4k damage because it hit 2 times since he was under 50% health. So now that the Reaper and Hollowsmith are dead, the Vindicator has respawned and was fighting the Core Guardian on mid, but I overextend a little bit and get pulled by the Reaper, which was completely my fault. But luckily we have a Guardian who can signet me so that I don't absolutely die. But I'm a little bit low on cooldown, so I'm going to back out a little bit. And there you also see one of the problems, or well, not problems, more like features of Harbinger, is that it is very squishy compared to the other Necromancer specs, because we don't have Barrier or Shroud. So when you are not in the right position, or you overextend and you get focused, you're going to be able to die really quickly. But we go back into the fight, and I get quite a lot of damage into the Mechanist using my Harbinger skills and Spinal Shivers. I should have kept focusing the Mechanist here, but for some reason I decided to fight the Vindicator, but my allies have also left the fight, so I quickly got focused by the 2 Vindicators and the Reaper and get taken down extremely fast. But that is just another example of having to watch your positioning as a Harbinger, because you don't have Shroud to fall back on. So that was completely my fault, and the Vindicators did a good job of targeting me there. At this point, our team is doing pretty well. One of our Vindicators is holding far. He's doing a good job there, and our Mechanist is fighting a Vindicator on close. He doesn't have the cap yet, so I'm gonna apply some pressure to the Vindicator so that the Mechanist can cap the point, and after that I can leave and let them 1v1. I do overextend a little bit here. I was a little bit greedy for the kill, but this is a very good Vindicator, and he got quite some damage into me. So when he teleports to me, I teleport out so that he cannot finish me off. The Mechanist is also chasing him, and at this point I also want to get into mid, so I use my number 4 skill, just like on Daredevil, to jump to that higher ledge. At this point, our Mechanist is facing quite some pressure from the Vindicator, and Reaper, I should have probably helped him, but I really wanted the decap, and our other allies are returning from far and are being chased by 3 enemies. I want to team fight here, so I throw some of my marks and my elite potion, but I don't seem to be doing too much damage. None of my damage is really sticking, so I'm not really confident in this team fight. So I decide to leave the Core Guardian and Vindicator alone and go for the decap on far. And luckily we have quite some ability on Harbinger, so it doesn't take too long to get around the map. And I think that's also one of my favorite things about this class, is that you now have more ways to move around the map. For example, you can bounce around using Shroud number 4 to places that you normally wouldn't be able to jump to, or you could also jump and use the number 3 skill at the same time to also get to higher places, which makes moving around the map and surviving a lot easier, which is a nice change. At this point, we are also moving back into mid, and I drop my number 5 skill to CC the Reaper and Vindicator. And as you can see there, the Vindicator first had stability, but after the first tick of stability, or the first stack of stability was removed, he got CC'd in my CC field. So the number 5 skill is very good, and especially since it's on a 20-second cooldown. Now I'm currently pushing into close. The Vindicator's asking why I want a +1, but I just wanted to get some gameplay, and I know that I can do quite some damage if I hit the right skills. So I'm just gonna apply some pressure to the Vindicator and make him use some of his cooldowns, and then I hope I can get him with some of my Harbinger skills. One thing about this build is also that the potions I found do a lot of damage. For example, you can see that that potion crit for 3000, and then I finish off the Vindicator with a 6k Devouring Cut and another 6k Shroud number 2. So throwing potions is a good way to also apply some ranged pressure when you're out of cooldowns. And the Elixir of Risk, which gives the Harbinger might and power, also applies weakness, so it's very good versus power builds. When back on mid, I take out the Mechanist and throw the Elite Potion on the Reaper. And now we should really focus the Reaper because he is the easiest target to pin down. But first we cleave out the Vindicator, then we get the Reaper with a 6k Shroud number 2. But at this point, the Holosmith has dropped a crate on me, got me down, tries to Elixir S-Stomp me. But luckily I got rallied by the Reaper just in time. But I get down again by the Vindicator at this point, but my team is doing a nice job of rezzing me. Now this PvP match is an example of what Harbinger looks like when everything goes right, with for example, a good support that is helping you, but obviously it looks a lot different when you're in solo queue and you don't have a support and you're up against a Deadeye that is focusing you, so just keep that in mind. At this point, I am retreating into close. The Mechanist is chasing me, and the Vindicator also decides to join, but I teleport away when the Vindicator joins, and I also CC him with Shroud number 5 really quickly, which makes him back off and allows me to go back onto the node and fight the Mechanist 1v1. I unfortunately missed my Elite Potion, but as you can see, I did hit my other potions, which did 4k damage, and then I do another 6k damage with the Devouring Cut, and another 7k damage with the Leap skill, and finish off the Mechanist. So as you can see, that was quite a clean duel and a good example of what a Harbinger can do in PvP. So if you want to try it yourself, be sure to stick around, because I'll go over the build quickly now. I am using a Marauder Amulet for more vitality, and then Runes of the Lynx for more power and movement speed. Staff, Axe, Focus for ranged damage, and with a Sigil of Energy and Cleansing on Staff, and then Sigil of Intelligence and Exposure on Axe. I like to use Sigil of Exposure on Axe because the number 2 skill, Ghastly Claws, does bonus damage for each vulnerability stack that the enemy has. So more vulnerability means a lot more damage. Then for the utility skills, I use the new Elixir Heal, Elixir of Promise, since it heals for quite a lot, 7,000. And when you throw this on an enemy, it can also do 4,000 to 5,000 damage if it crits, and when it's used above the Blight threshold. So it's a healing skill that now also does damage and applies poison and vulnerability. Then we use Elixir of Risk to give ourselves more might and fury. This skill does the same damage as the Elixir of Promise, so quite a lot. And this skill is quite important because the might on this build gives us a lot more power due to the Awaken the Pain trait. So 10 might now gives us 400 power instead of the usual. I don't know how much it usually gives. But anyway, more power. Then we have Summon the Fleshworm, which is a very important defensive trait because it allows you to teleport and get out of sticky situations. And same for Spectral Walk, which also cleanses conditions and gives you life force per condition. Then the elite skill is, of course, the new Elixir of Ambition, which is a huge game changer, does a lot of damage, and the boons help a lot because when you have all the boons on you, you do a lot more damage, and you're basically invincible because you take less condition damage, less power damage due to resistance and protection, but you also have stability. So very important skill, and when used at the right time, this can definitely turn a fight around. And as for the traits, we're using Spite, Soul Reaping, and Harbinger for the most damage you can get, with Close to Death to get like huge 10k numbers, Awaken the Pain so that might gives you even more power, and I like to use Spiteful Talisman for the recharge reduction on Axe and Focus, but you can also take Spiteful Renewal, which works quite well with the potion, the healing potion. In Soul Reaping, we just take the regular Death Perception, Soul Barbs, and Soul Marks. And in Harbinger, I like to take Deathly Haste because it gives more fury and quickness, and the quickness together with the auto attack and when gaining might on auto attacking is very good. And then we also use the Implacable Foe for stability, which, as you saw at the start of the video, can negate some CC skills, and stability on Necromancer is always good. Moreover, it also gives you more ferocity. And then lastly, we have Vials, which reduces the recharge on your elixir skills, which are quite important skills for this build, at least I like to think so, especially the healing skill and elite skill, of course. And it also applies a vulnerability to enemies that are hit by the elixirs, so even more damage. So that's it for the build. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and be sure to stay tuned for more Harbinger content coming up. Thank you very much. Have a good day.